Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 29, Text 5. Tam
Mataji, 28, 32. Chapter
What?
28, verse 32.
Oh, yes. Okay. 28, thank you. Yadi sma pashyati asad indriyartam nananumanena viruddham anyat na manyate vastutaya manishi swapnam yatothaya tirodhanam. Although a self-realized soul may sometimes see an impure object or activity, he does not accept it as real. By logically understanding impure sense objects to be based on illusory material duality, the intelligent person sees them to be contrary to and distinct from reality, in the same way that a man awakening from sleep views his fading dream. A sane person can clearly distinguish between a dream experience and his real life. Similarly, a manishi or intelligent person can clearly perceive polluted material sense objects to be creations of the Lord's illusory energy and not factual reality. This is the practical test of realized intelligence. So, may see an impure object or activity. So that is also not real. Impure activity or object, right? Impure object, like say onion, garlic, impure activity, maybe prostitution or something like that. It is not real. That is also, everything is temporary and it is creation of illusion. And in the same way, so polluted material sense objects to be the creation of the Lord's illusory energy and not factual reality. This is the practical test of realized intelligence. Yes, good and bad, both are illusory. Purvam grihitam gunakarma chitram ajnanam atmani aviviktam anga nivartate tat punar ikshayaiva na grihyate napi visrijya atma. Material nations, which expands into many varieties by the activities of the modes of nature, is wrongly accepted by the conditioned soul to be identical with the self. But through the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, my dear Uddhava, this same nations fades away at the time of liberation. The eternal self, on the other hand, is never assumed and never abandoned. It is emphasized here that eternal self is never assumed or imposed as a material designation, nor is it ever abandoned. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is eternally the same and does not undergo transformation. The modes of nature, however, create the gross material body and subtle mind as a result of one's previous fruitive activities. And these gross and subtle bodies are imposed upon the soul. Thus, the living entity can neither assume nor reject the soul, which is an eternal fact. Rather, he should give up the gross ignorance of material consciousness by cultivating spiritual knowledge as indicated here. So we should, if we understand I'm distinct from my body, and the three modes of material nature, we will not identify ourselves with that and give more importance to spiritual advancement. Material nations, that is illusion, which expands into many varieties by the activities of modes of nature, is wrongly accepted by the conditioned soul to be identical with the self. But through the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, the same nations fades away at the time of liberation. So no need to feel bad also, because the body is like that. It may, until completely the nescience goes away, we are very attached to the body, right? We think this to be real. But at the time of liberation, it completely goes away. The eternal self, on the other hand, is never assumed and never abandoned. So there is no illusion with regard to the soul. The soul is always the soul, and it is not given up. It's only the body which is given up. Identification with the body is given up. And these gross and subtle bodies are imposed upon the soul. Thus, the living entity can neither assume nor reject the soul. The soul is always there. Rather, he should give up the gross ignorance of material consciousness by cultivating spiritual knowledge as indicated here. So, even if there are problems and all that, that is an impetus for us to abandon or give up attachment to the body and realize oneself. And nowadays, actually, more and more youth, why is it that they are taking to spiritual knowledge? They're all more interested. Earlier, it was not like that. In our times also, youth means totally sense gratification and material progress. This is all they'll be thinking about. And only old people, vanaprastha stage, they will start thinking, oh, you see in spiritual programs and all, only elderly people will be sitting. Youth will be outside somewhere enjoying themselves. But now, you see, most of the people who are showing interest are all youth. And why? Why is it happening? Because everything, they are getting material success quite fast. Those days, until you're 60, slowly you earn money, then you'll save and build one house or buy one flat, whatever, or buy a car, everything at the ripe age of end of life. So by the time you would have finished, all you live a long time just chasing after that material dream of having your own house, having your own vehicle, like that. Whereas now, people, by the time they're 25, they get everything. I got a nice house, I've got cars, and I have this and that, all gadgets, and so much savings and all that. So then they think, what am I doing all this job for? So they are thinking about purpose in life. There is time to think. They're not, they already achieved, they think, okay, a little more is just a matter of okay, it doesn't occupy them so much. So they are questioning their purpose in life. What did I come here for? I already achieved, I've got money, I've got all this. And so then, and even if they're getting all bad habits due to friendships and all that, then they start thinking, oh, there is a urge from the soul to think about, why am I born here? Or even about the job. Am I really doing it? Why this particular job? Why am I doing? They start questioning, and they're ready for something higher. Because you have to go through this physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual. This, so already physically they're satisfied, mentally also, intellectually also. Then the next thing is spiritual. So it's coming quite fast. And um, so by cultivating spiritual knowledge, so we should, then they quickly they can realize, and that's very good. Then the world is going towards a better destination, better direction. It's going towards spiritual direction. It's happening. Actually, it is happening now. We can see that more and more youth are not actually so much interested in sense gratification or just having material relationships. They're very intelligent, and they want to know. They like spirituality. Religion, they don't want. Religion means rules, regulations, and just some rituals. That they're not interested. But spirituality, many of them are interested. So that's a good thing. Of course, and the thing is, we have to present to them why they need. What are you doing? It starts, okay, as soon as they finish their education, for a few years, they may be a little lost because they're earning money and enjoying, see, I am earning so much money and I can buy a flat on my own. I'll have this, I'll have that, I'll go somewhere, I'll enjoy myself, I'll go alone or with my friends, sightseeing all over the world. So whatever their dreams they were, they fulfill it very quickly. And then what do I do after that? So then they start inquiring. So यथा हि भानोरुदयोनृ चक्षुषां तमो निहन्यान्न तु विदत्ते एवं समीक्षा निपुणा सती मे हन्यात्तमिश्रं पुरुषस्य बुद्धे. When the sun rises, it destroys the darkness covering men's eyes, but it does not create the objects they then see before them, which in fact were existing all along. Similarly, potent and factual realization of me will destroy the darkness covering a person's true consciousness. So when the sun comes, the darkness goes away, but it does not create the objects. Sun is not creating objects, it's just removing our darkness. And they were already there. Similarly, when we get self-realization, darkness covering my true consciousness will go away and I can see myself. It was already there. It's not that, the Atma is already there. Destroy the darkness covering a person's true consciousness. So, yeah. एष स्वयं ज्योतिरजो प्रमेयो महानुभूति सकलानुभूति एको द्वितीयो वचसां विरामे येन शिथा वाग असवश्चरन्ति. The Supreme Lord is self-luminous, unborn, and immeasurable. He is pure transcendental consciousness and perceives everything, one without a second. He is realized only after ordinary words cease. By him, the power of speech and the life airs are set into motion. The Supreme Lord is self-luminous, self-manifested, whereas the individual living entity is manifested by him. The Lord is unborn, but the living entity, because of material designative coverings, takes birth and conditioned life. The Lord is immeasurable, being all pervasive, whereas the living entity is localized. The Supreme Lord is Mahanubhuti, the totality of consciousness, whereas the living entity is a tiny spark of consciousness. The Lord is Sakalanubhuti, omniscient, whereas the living entity is aware only of his own limited experience. The Supreme Lord is one, whereas the living entities are innumerable. Considering all these contrasts between the Lord and ourselves, we should not waste time like the foolish material scientists and philosophers who struggle to find the origin of this world by the insignificant mental speculation and word jugglery. Although one may discover some of the gross laws of material nature through material research, there is no hope of achieving the absolute truth by such petty endeavors. Actually, we have to focus on the super soul and us and see the difference between the Lord and ourselves and concentrate on building our relationship with him. Instead, what happens? Conditioned soul is thinking about comparing themselves with all the other living entities and thinking we can enjoy in this material world, not only living entities and objects. We are so much fascinated by all that. And so we forget to develop our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Or if at all we think of the Supreme Lord, it is so that he can help us to enjoy the material world and material relationships. But we should instead, if we think about the Lord, then we will see the difference. That how Krishna is self-manifested, whereas I'm not self-manifested. I'm manifested by him. He is unborn, but but the living entity takes birth. I'm also unborn in the spiritual world, but here I take birth. He is all immeasurable, is infinite and all pervasive everywhere, whereas I'm just inside one body. And the totality, Krishna is the totality of consciousness, whereas I'm tiny spark of that consciousness. Lord is Sakalanubhuti, omniscient, whereas I'm only aware of Krishna is aware of everything. Imagine, he is just in one place and he knows what is happening exactly in everybody's lives, every living entity, right up to the tiniest germ, he knows what is happening. Imagine how he is aware about everything. Whereas imperfectly, something I'm aware of my own body, my own consciousness. The Supreme Lord is one, whereas living, we're just one among so many. We are insignificant. He is one. We also want to be that one. We want to become the most prominent. We want to control others. We want to have a feeling of how God is. But God is not enjoying in a false ego way, thinking I'm superior and all these tiny, tiny living entities are inferior. That's not his mood. But somehow wanting to laud it, we think that Krishna is enjoying himself. I also want to enjoy like him. And so Krishna created that faulty mentality which came, by which, we also wish to be like him and an enjoyer. He is the only enjoyer, but the way he enjoys, it's very natural and it's very spiritual and pure. So once we have understood that, there's no point in continuing that illusion. So we must keep our eyes focused on the Lord and see how great he is and how small I am. And it is it is in my interest, and he's my best well-wisher friend. So we have to consult the Lord for everything. And that's why the Hare Krishna mantra is everything. Because our whole purpose of life is only to develop our relationship with him. But we get sidetracked into so many other things. How many lifetimes, all different stories. We became attached to so many things. And because of that, repeated births, so many desires to lord it in this material world. And forgetting Krishna completely. Considering all these contrasts between the Lord and ourselves, we should not waste time like the foolish material scientists and philosophers who struggle to find the origin of this world by their insignificant mental speculation and word jugglery. They're able to be fully engrossed in all their material pursuits only because they don't know who's the origin of this world. They're still searching and searching, so they think, there is no origin. Till then, let me enjoy myself. There is no God because I never found out who he is. So till then, I can enjoy myself. And if you just discover some laws which already existed, who created those laws? That doesn't mean, you can find out God through such petty endeavors. Something of the material world. Scientists will take, I don't know how many lifetimes of research, finally, also through material research and all that anyway, even Einstein said that just watching material nature, one has to conclude that there is a very intelligent God behind it. But some people may take many more lifetimes before they can accept that, yes, there is a very intelligent pattern and it's impossible. Why they're not able to understand that? Only because of Maya, which is covering their consciousness. They're not ready to accept that there is a God. They just can't imagine because they don't want to. They want to feel that I am God. I don't want to. They have innate desire to be God. And that's why they won't bow down. right? Those who are too materialistic or asuric will not bow down before the Lord. That's why Krishna, and Kalia was a demon who was very proud and he kept his hoods up like that. And when Krishna came, he put his foot on him, on his head, and he brought it to the ground and he jumped on him, on his head. And he's, so all the heads were bowed down. He was dancing very beautifully. And then if any of his heads rose up, uh, to bite Krishna, then Krishna would jump on that head also and nicely crush it. So he kept on dancing and dancing. Two things. One was to suppress Kalia's pride. The other was to attract the gopis, to not to attract, to please them with his wonderful thing, dancing. And everyone was enjoying his dance. It was so nice. And from Devta, from Svargalok also, all the demigods, immediately they came. And because he was dancing so beautifully, they started singing bhajans, and then they were playing mridanga and other instruments, so that because dance becomes nice only with accompanied with all songs and all that. So, but actually something serious was also happening. Krishna was purifying Kalia and kept on dancing and dancing, and all the poison from his mind just spilt out from his body. All the poison came out. And then after that, when the poison came out, then after that, blood also he was vomiting, and he became very, very weak. Almost he's going to die. And at that time, the Nagapatnis came and requested and, did beautiful prayers. It is very amazing how they are asking, oh, my Lord, how did this husband, he was such a horrible, wicked person. And how did he get such opportunity that your lotus feet will be on his head? Did he do anything good that he's got this big opportunity? And because, but it is also amazing that these Nagapatnis, they are pure devotees. They really, I don't know about pure, but very advanced devotees. And they understood so many things. How did they get this serpent body? That is also a mystery. But anyway, maybe it was to help Kalia, because of them only, they used to keep telling him that please surrender to Krishna, please. And then he never bothered. And now he saw Krishna was jumping on his head. And then, he was defeated by him. Then he remembered his wife's words and he took shelter of Krishna. So, that is how, I mean, Krishna, when a materialist is, or even materialist is also asuric, because he's defying the supremacy of Krishna, and he does everything according to his own wishes, except that he may not be anti-Krishna like an asura is. But still, that is also a little challenging and, defying Krishna. So then Krishna has to take this step of dancing on the hoods of our defiance, of our pride, and crushes. So it says, the Supreme Lord is self-luminous, unborn, immeasurable. He is pure transcendental consciousness and perceives everything. One without a second, he is realized only after ordinary words cease. We cannot describe him through ordinary words, transcendental words. And we can realize them only when we stop all nonsensical talks. By him, the power of speech and the life airs are set into motion. So life air is there. Because of life air, only our life is existing. And the power of speech, we are able to speak only by his mercy. Everything is only by his mercy. Everything. We are completely dependent upon him. There is not one area where we can see, for this I don't need to depend on Krishna. In everything, he can completely make us like a vegetable, right? We can, in next minute, anything can happen. That is how much we are dependent on Krishna. And so imagine how much an illusion a materialist is, not knowing the Supreme Lord. That is the complete illusion. Krishna is everywhere, and I'm so dependent on him, but I'm not at all aware of that. That is the real misfortune. We're very unfortunate if we're not going in the proper direction, which we are in Krishna consciousness. We are trying to approach Krishna. So this is the most auspicious path. We are in the front, we are front runners in the walk towards Krishna. But there are so many others who are also on this march towards Krishna, but maybe less. I mean, the distance is more great. They are more attached to other processes, other people on the way, like devatas or other. But it's also going towards everything in Sanatan Dharma is going towards Krishna only. Etavan atma sammoho yad vikalpastu kevale atmanrite swam atmanam avalambona yasya. Whatever apparent duality is perceived in the self is simply the confusion of the mind. Indeed, such supposed duality has no basis to rest upon apart from one's own soul. As explained in verse 33 of this chapter, the eternal self is neither assumed nor lost, since every living entity is an eternal reality. The word vikalpa or duality here refers to the mistaken idea that the spirit soul is partly composed of matter in the form of the gross body or subtle mind. It is thus that foolish persons consider the material body or mind to be an intrinsic or fundamental component of the self. We can see that is why some people are so caste conscious. They think that body is everything. You're born as something, you're that. You can never progress and go beyond that consciousness. In fact, the living entity is pure spirit without any tinge of matter. Consequently, the false ego, which is generated by false identification with matter, is a mistaken identity imposed upon the pure spirit soul. The sense of ego or I am, in other words, the sense of one's individual identity, comes from the spirit soul because there is no other possible basis for such self awareness. So the soul is responsible because the soul is identifying with the body only. We are taking the body to be the self. The soul only has done that. By studying one's false sense of ego, one can analytically understand that there is a pure ego, which is expressed by the words Aham Brahmasmi, I'm pure spirit soul. One can easily understand in a similar way that there is a supreme spirit soul, the personality of Godhead, who is the omniscient controller of everything. Such understanding in Krishna consciousness constitutes perfect knowledge as described here by the Lord. The Lord also, he is pure spirit. But because he is all pervasive in this material world, also we mistake. Some people think universe is the supreme. They think they don't know there is one God, but they think the universe is also a representation, material representation of Krishna, right? So they assume that the material world is the supreme, just like, or they say Mother Nature and all that. And like we identify the soul is pure and separate from the body, and we think we are the body. In no way is the body or mind in any way connected with the soul. Soul is completely pure. And um, and it is only the false ego which is generated by the false identification in matter is a mistaken identity imposed upon the pure spirit soul. So, wrong identification, false ego is the cause of all suffering. The minute we come to our original identity, no problem at all. All the problem is there only because of false identification. So why? So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, work only on that. Work only on the false ego. No need to do all other things. I mean, first, if we are focused on that, other things will also become pure, because this is the topmost. To reach false ego level is not easy. All other people, I mean, Ashtanga yogis and other, they are going step by step from material. Whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us to tackle it from the top, false ego level, where near the entrance or exit door, exit door, all others are going up, but we are the exit door, and we have to manage that exit door. Then all the other steps also below will fall into place. And what is that exit door? Because false ego is the most difficult uh, exit, I mean, door to cross. Many people get stuck. They might come up to the level of great purity, meditation. Their lives are all very nice, very Brahminical, but false ego, that is, they're not able to give up. And so they're stuck in this material world. And for us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, you tackle that. Trinadapi sunichena tarurapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So you are, from the very beginning, he is telling, I am the servant. So how we should be, lower than a blade of grass, accept all difficulties, and be tolerant, the tree, giving all respect to others and expecting no respect for oneself. Now, this can only happen when you are in your original consciousness. I am Brahmasmi, and then you don't bother. What does it matter? I mean, not just Aham Brahmasmi, Dasosmi. I'm the servant of Krishna. Then that is what will fill us with complete happiness. Then we will think, not at all. You insulted me. I deserve much more. Yeah, I mean, that feeling will come. But if you're very proud, then any small little thing, we think, oh, they have insulted me, and we flare up and we get so angry. We'll destroy them. I will curse them. All these things. But if we are in our mind thinking, I am a servant of Krishna, then if somebody even insults us, we'll not harm us. Yeah, yeah, I am very bad, I'm very fallen, because that's material thing. And Vaishnava automatically is very humble because he's a servant of Krishna. And that is what, and as a servant also, he will tell Krishna, I'm so bad. I'm not at all serving you, Krishna. All the other Vaishnavas are serving you much more. He is always very humble like this. So that external thing of pride of this material world does not touch a Vaishnava. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that that's why you should chant Hare Krishna to increase your service to Krishna, and to keep yourself humble, serve all the Vaishnavas. So we should be fixed in this consciousness. Otherwise, pride will enter, and pride enters, then we will get very upset about small minor things people do for against us, and then we'll be offensive, we'll get angry, and we might do politics, so many things based on just pride, for wanting name and fame, position, and for that sake we are ready to do politics. Some people lose their way. In spiritual life, they came to reach God, but halfway they got some base, they're doing all the practices, everything. Then instead of going further up to become Krishna's servant, pure devotional service, they think, okay, right now let me enjoy other facilities, material things, just like the materialists. See, I gave up material life and came here. I came to Krishna, but let me also enjoy material life a little here. That's even worse. In devotional life, you want to enjoy like a materialist. So you want money, power, fame, position, adulation, respect, following. That's the same thing. You left that and came here, and you are trying to attach. So that's very bad, because then you'll be stuck here. And not only that, you'll start committing offenses. Anybody who comes in the way of whatever you want, you'll kick them out or treat them badly. All these things happens because we're still attached to sense gratification. On the other hand, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you're only servant. You're not an enjoyer. Servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. Gopi Bhattu Padakamalayor Das Das Dasanu Dasa. So if if our consciousness is like that, then we'll be in ecstasy. We'll always be happy, and we'll not mind if somebody is criticizing us or praising us. It doesn't matter, because I'm not this body. And we will have real loving relationships with devotees, not superficial things. Oh, I'm supposed to say this. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, everything will say, and I'm very, very fallen, I'm so lowly. All that will tell, mouth will say that, but internally we are still desiring so many things. So that is why that is the last snare of illusion, to become God, to become, powerful. And actually, that is why that is the most difficult, because all the people who have raised their spiritual consciousness, and then but still keeping their false ego intact. Only false ego is the problem. Then you can imagine what relationships they will have. Nothing. They don't have any loving relationship at all. Each one is trying to prove, I'm the best, I'm the best. Whereas lower levels, it is much better, because they are still sense enjoying. So they don't think they're very great. I'm also fallen, you're also fallen. So there is not much competition. But if you become uh, a little advanced, and then what happens? There is competition. If you still have false ego, that's very dangerous, because now, earlier at least, you were looking up to people who are more advanced in spiritual life. Now, once you also became advanced, then, well, I mean, without the proper mood, we'll start competing and becoming arrogant and not having a service mood, and thinking that I'm a conqueror and I need this and that. And then it's pride goes before a fall. So that's why here we have to use all these things to be very, very, um, the only reality is this: the truth is Krishna, and the truth is myself being an Atma and part and parcel of Krishna. And if we are very clear about this, he is there, I'm there, and I have to serve him, then everything will become very, very clear. It becomes hazy and duality when we don't see Krishna, and we see other things, and we see ourselves, and we think, I'm there, I'm here to enjoy myself. Then everything becomes very hazy, right? Whatever apparent duality is perceived in the self is simply the confusion of the mind. Indeed, such supposed duality has no basis to rest upon apart from one's own soul. Ah, oh, we didn't do this verse. एतावान् आत्मसम्मोहो यद्विकल्पस्तु केवले आत्मनृते स्वम् आत्मानम् अवलम्बो न यस्य हि. Whatever apparent duality is perceived in the self is simply the confusion of the mind. There is no bad self and good self. Soul is always good. There is no duality. Indeed, such supposed duality has no basis to rest upon apart from one's own soul. As explained in verse 33 of this chapter, the eternal self is neither assumed nor lost, since every living entity is an eternal reality. The word vikalpa, or duality, here refers to the mistaken idea that the spirit soul is partly composed of matter in the form of gross body or subtle mind. So some people actually think like that. They think there is a feminine soul and there is a masculine soul. They think like that. You see, because of faulty realization, they think that the soul has also got some qualities of the body and mind. You see, that is how they treat ladies as having lady souls and men as having men souls. So they have this concept. In fact, the living entity is pure spirit without any tinge of matter. Consequently, the false ego, which is generated by the false identification with matter, is a mistaken identity imposed upon the pure spirit soul. The sense of ego or I am, in other words, the sense of one's individual identity, comes from the spirit soul because there's no other possible basis for such self awareness. By studying one's false sense of ego, one can analytically understand that there is a pure ego, which is expressed by the words Aham Brahmasmi, I'm pure spirit soul. One can easily understand in a similar way that there is a supreme spirit soul, personality of Godhead. This is the absolute truth, and every other understanding is just illusory, and we see duality and we see everything as relative. There's confusion in the mind, no clarity. We get disturbed. We lose faith. We lose faith in Krishna controlling everything, and everything is happening perfectly. There's no need to be afraid of anything. A person who's self realized, who understands, who's always having this vision Supreme Lord is there, I'm dependent on Him, I'm serving Him, He's taking care of me. Nothing there to, everything becomes very clear, crystal clear. Whatever dirty things happening in the material world, also, it's all illusory. I have Krishna, I'm His servant, no problem. Whatever He says, I'm going to do. Then there is no disturbance at all. It's only when we don't see Krishna and we think we have to decide everything on our own, then we get very perturbed because this world seems like, you really, it's a jungle. You need somebody you need an anchor, right? And if you don't have Krishna, then we latch on to somebody or the other. I mean, Krishna's created all these relationships within the family. So we depend on somebody or the other in this material world. We become very dependent on them, and then we are disturbed because of either we lose them or they change or something. Then we become what's the point of life, and we become rudderless, and we think life is not worth living, all these things. So all that hazy, cloudy things, a disturbance about relationships, too much emphasis, too much dependence on material relationships, that's also the problem. Relationships are coming only special, it has to be rooted through Krishna, whether it is relationships, bodily relationships, or spiritual relationships. Everything is through Krishna. Without Krishna, we cannot have proper relationships. Then it'll be exploitative. Even with the Guru, how do we have relationship with him? It's because he's an expansion of Paramatma. That's how we should see him. If you see him as an ordinary person, then we will start thinking, oh, Guru, he never replied my letter. He never spoke to me. He never saw me. He didn't give me importance. He did this to me, that to me. We'll have expectations from him, and we'll see him separate from Krishna. And we will get upset with him also. We'll have all sorts of expectations. But if you see him as an expansion of the Paramatma, then okay, whatever he says, this is what Krishna wants, and we'll very humbly accept, and we'll only want to do service. Why? Because to please the Paramatma, to please Krishna, so that my relationship improves with him. That is the thing. So even if Guru doesn't notice it and all that, still I feel very satisfied because it's meant for Krishna, actually. He is just doing the job of Paramatma. He is just acting as his assistant because we are not able to connect with Paramatma directly. So he comes as his assistant to help us. And of course, it's an eternal relationship. When we are liberated, then the Guru is ever there, more like a friend. And there in the spiritual world, we'll hardly need his assistance because we are also. But in case we need some help, oh please, I want to do service, can you tell me what service? Like that, he's always there. He may be doing some other service, but he's ready. He's like a eternal friend. So it's an eternal relationship, no doubt. But it is all for pleasing Krishna. It is not a separate relationship. Like in the material world, we want to have separate relationships. My friend, my this one, my brother, my sister. And there is no Krishna in that relationship, right? You, me, I love you, you love me, I serve you, you serve me. But without Krishna, that is why it doesn't satisfy. But if they are devotees and then brother and sister or husband and wife or parents and children, they understand that we are part of Krishna. And somehow Krishna has brought us together and we love each other, we love our souls. Then that is not Maya. That is very beautiful because because Krishna is there. Krishna has to be the center. Then everything is beautiful, everything is wonderful. No false ego, right? Even we easily, devotees, if they are real devotees, they're hardly much any this thing, oh, I'm so sorry I did this. Oh, no problem. That's okay. Devotees don't have any false ego. So even if we do something and we should apologize because Krishna is watching. That devotee may say it's okay, don't bother. But Krishna is watching. If you have offended, for Krishna's sake, at least we have to go and ask for forgiveness and try to rectify the situation. So whatever we are doing, it's for Krishna's satisfaction ultimately. I'm being a nice, I'm being a good wife or a mother or a daughter or a whatever relationship, even material relationships, is simply to please Krishna. I'll try to be a good disciple to please Krishna. Without Krishna, it doesn't make sense. And it cannot also. It cannot function properly. So so that is why I'm pure spirit soul. And one can easily understand in a similar way that there is a supreme spirit soul, personality of Godhead, who's the omniscient controller of everything. Such understanding in Krishna consciousness constitutes perfect knowledge. So even if we have material desires, we have to depend on Krishna to fulfill. Instead of mode of passion means we just run around on our own. I do this, and then if it doesn't work, we get very disturbed. Oh, will it never happen? We don't know. We become, despondent. But when we realize it's a relationship between me and Paramatma, Krishna, and I have to just surrender and leave it to him. Actually, the best thing is to not have, we should pray only that Krishna take away all this horrible, dirty things that I have in my heart to enjoy this material world. Let me be just your servant. That is the most brightest thing. What is sorted, Jitendra Prabhu?
Actually, Mataji, voice was breaking, Mataji. I put it on speaker. It was working, Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So that is all. We have to only worry about that, our relationship with Krishna. And that's why in earlier times, Vedic times, if somebody had a problem, they just quietly slip out and go and sit calmly and start meditating, praying to Krishna. That's all. That is what will solve all problems. We have to connect with Krishna. He's the only one who can solve all our problems, fulfill all our desires, take us back home, back to Godhead. And everyone else is manifestation of his mercy. Guru is also Krishna's mercy upon us. All the Vaishnavas are Krishna's mercy upon us. Our family is Krishna's mercy upon us. Everything, all situations Everything is simply Krishna's mercy on us. It's only because of him that we have anything at all. This body is also a mercy of Krishna upon us. Then we'll only be thinking of Krishna, right? Everything, Krishna, you guide me. I'm ready to do whatever you tell me. Then we'll be in bliss every day, doing ordinary things or great things or whatever. Everything is simply glorifying Krishna, because it's only, I mean, his desire. We want to do everything to satisfy him. Maybe it's not fully his desire, it's karma, because I got this body and all because of my desire. Whatever, I got material things because of my material desires. But still, it's all given by Krishna. And when we connect with Krishna, even all our material things will become glorious, because it's all coming, I mean, it's done with consciousness of Krishna and doing everything to satisfy Krishna. Then how our life will not be glorious? It will be very, very auspicious, very nice. We're going in the right direction. And so Krishna is taking so much trouble to explain things to us. And this, I mean, this is for who really, really wants Krishna and is gone through everything in his life. Now, finally, he is near the exit door. So that is these instructions are for such people. And somewhere we are near the exit door. Only the problem is with us is, I mean, if we can remove the false ego, then all problems gone. Even all sense gratificatory attachments, false ego attachments, everything will just disappear out of the window if we are knowing this knowledge and take shelter of Krishna. Okay, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Mataji, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
Yes, please explain your businesses.
Mataji, how do we maintain and then establish a relationship with everybody, considering, including Krishna actually? How do we do that? In our relationship, how do we include Krishna with all living entities?
With all living entities, how we should maintain relationship?
Like including
First
Krishna.
Pardon?
Including Krishna, like with Krishna, like every relationship what we have in family, society, or anywhere or any living entity, how do we establish and maintain, including Krishna all the time?
Including Krishna, Krishna is the
Yeah.
most important. First, you concentrate on your relationship with Krishna. That's the most important. And other people, you are trying to be nice to them in a service attitude so that Krishna may be pleased with you. Then your relationship will be nice with everyone, because you are thinking you're doing everything. You're being nice to people also, where only for Krishna's sake. Then you will be very, very nice. If I do something, Krishna knows everything. I cannot hide. If you're not doing for Krishna, you can be hypocritical. Oh, I'll be nice to you. I'll talk nice, very nicely. Inside, I may not be feeling like that at all. I can be hypocritical, right? But if I'm doing for Krishna, inside, outside, everything has to be same. Otherwise, Krishna knows, oh, you hypocrite. I know you don't mean anything you say. So that is why it's very good that we do everything and we have no expectations, right? I did it for Krishna's pleasure. He's happy with me. I'm very happy. I don't mind if the other person praised me or returned my favor or anything. I don't care. So you'll have very good relationships because you don't have any expectations. You just did your part in a detached way to satisfy Krishna. And they will also be satisfied because they are also part of Krishna. So this is the real perfect relationships. Even family, you no need to become artificially detached. Oh, I'll not think of them. I'll try to go. No, they are given to me by Krishna. If you see them like that, and I have to be nice to them, I have to do my duty towards them. Otherwise, Krishna is going to be unhappy with me. If you have that goal, then you'll always be nice, isn't it? You'll not go off into a trip, sense gratificatory trip, and then ignore your family members. All the time work, or some people mobile all the time. Then they don't have time for their family. None of that will happen if we are wanting to satisfy Krishna. Every moment we will be thinking, what am I doing now? I'm wasting time. I mean, of course, we're not perfect. Maybe something will attract us and we'll sit there and do something, and then we'll think, oh, no, 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 Krishna will not be happy with me. So that is why our first relationship should be with Krishna. Then automatically we'll become very nice with everyone. And forgetting Krishna, then we become a demon, a rascal. We start expecting from people. We are not insensitive to their needs. We only see about ourselves and we think everybody else are tools for my happiness. And we don't care about some people, how they feel. We don't respect them. We are unkind to them, all by forgetting Krishna and seeing them as their bodies. If you don't see Krishna, you see yourself as a body, and you see other people also as bodies. So you discriminate. Some people I like, some people I don't like. I'm rude to some people. All problems arise just because of forgetting Krishna. And that's why if we chant nicely and develop our relationship with Krishna, you will be nice and see everyone as, I mean, that I have to satisfy whatever I have to do with other people, I have to do the correct thing to whatever pleases Krishna. It may be sometimes you have to fight with someone also. That is also for pleasing Krishna. That is someone who's not doing correctly, or you have to sometimes chastise, or that also for the pleasure of Krishna. Then you'll do everything perfectly. You'll not be confused. Am I, right or wrong? Oh, what am I doing? If it's for our own self, we may become selfish, and that may be harmful for others. Or we may become disturbed about this material world, or even when others are not nice to us, we'll not get disturbed. We'll not feel, because if you're identifying with the body, we feel very bad when somebody is rude to us, nasty to us. Then, it makes us feel as if I'm nothing. We feel very inferior. That's why we get very upset, right? Somebody doesn't respect us. Then we also feel humiliated. But if we have Krishna, then we know we are very complete, perfect, and wholesome. There's nothing wrong with me. Even if you spit on my face, I'm not affected because I know there is nothing wrong with me. So that is why, for all complete confidence and this thing, if we just try to re-establish our relationship with Krishna, that is the best way. All our relationships will be also good, perfect.
Thank you, Mataji.
And that is even with the job and all that, right? Sometimes we don't know what to do, what not to do. But if we are doing it, everything, even the job, we leave the results to Krishna. I'll do my best, and not too much also, no over endeavoring. Everything holistic, balanced way, because we're depending on Krishna. That is it. Depending on Krishna is wonderful because we know everything will be taken care of him. If I just do what is correct, I don't have to worry about the results. Yeah. I mean, it's it's not that it's very easy to do that, but we have to keep trying. And every day we've got a wonderful, strong weapon to do that, and which is chanting Hare Krishna mantra. It's so powerful, especially when you hear other people now, then you realize, my God, we've got such a super, super fantastic tool. Other people are groping with all inferior tools, whatever they're doing. But here, Hare Krishna mantra is super, super potency. And it is direct contact with Krishna, who's the supreme. Like yesterday, I was, listening to someone who was talking about how he connects with angels and he gets directions, how to do what and take proper, decisions. And he helps others also. And so the angels, they make themselves known like energy. Like either he sees some colors or symbols, or his hair stands on end, something by which, and it becomes very clear what he should do. So there are so many other Krishna consciousness is really the topmost final thing. There are so many other things on the way. Buddhism also has got a lot of things about controlling the mind and how to come to the mode of goodness. It's all got everything has got something, but then what we have is really the topmost, the ultimate, the boss, final boss, Krishna. And we are able to interact with him. It's not an ordinary thing. Most people don't even know, and we have access to that. So we must really that morning japa is our really time to look forward to and put all our effort in that. Okay, so we go for prayers. Pray for His Holiness Jayaptak Swami for his complete good health, well-being, longevity, and protection from all diseases, and also for protection of his servants. We pray for all Prabhupada disciples, good health, well-being, protection, longevity, and protection from all diseases. We pray for all our devotees and their families for their good health, well-being, longevity, and protection from all diseases, and speedy recovery from all illnesses. And we pray for rainfall for Karnataka, and we pray for all peace and harmony within India and also outside India, all over the world. So let us chant 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Then we pray for our center to be ready soon so that we can inaugurate it on Gaura Purnima Day. And we pray for and that we really expand our preaching. And we pray for Lingaraj Dham's expansion and also Srila Prabhupada Dham's expansion and good preaching. So let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Then we pray for